Okay. So we'll call the meeting to order, and basically what we're doing today is a public hearing on the land use bylaw. And what we are going to do is we have a registration, so we have a list of names, and we'll ask people to come up and if they're in favor or against the proposed bylaw. What we will do is for everyone that comes up, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. And after the 2 minutes, we'll be calling the next person. There will be a timer on it. So it will be 2 minutes max for each person. We have a good list of speakers, so that's excellent. Thanks very much for everybody for coming out. Oh, okay. He's going to do one. Okay. And to start, we're going to have Nathan is going to do a small presentation. Before that, maybe Nathan, what you can do is just give an overview of when this started and how long it took, and we'll get into the details on it. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Nathan. Thanks, Nathan.
How about now? People speak loud. Okay, very good. Okay, so my name is Nathan McLeod. I'm a planner and landscape architect with a company called Upland Planning and Design. And so we began working on the Plan Victoria project in 2021. So I apologize, I'm going to go through this presentation quite quickly. We want to make sure we have time to hear from you folks, but we also want to make sure that we've somewhat introduced the project given the time constraints that we have. So we will deal with some of the timelines in the project, so there will be a summary, but again, I'm just going to get into it, and I apologize if I am moving fast, but I want to try and leave as much time as I can for the public. If I can advance the slide. Oh, there we go. Okay. As a broad introduction to Plan Victoria, the province is required, through Bill 58, has required all municipalities in Nova Scotia to be subject to municipal planning and to meet a set of minimum planning standards. Bill 58 authorizes the province to establish interim planning areas if municipalities do not comply. Currently, most areas of Victoria County do not meet the minimum planning standards, and Plan Victoria began in 2021 and has already received 3 time extensions from the province. So the goal of the project is to create a municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw for the areas that don't meet the minimum planning standards and establish a framework to simplify and streamline land use planning. And I think it's also important to note that because this is new to much of the municipality, which is used to having no land use planning, that in preparing these documents, we've tried to take a light touch and we've tried to find something that meets the minimum planning standards, but is also tailored to the municipality based on what we've heard through the public process. So the current state of land use planning in Victoria County, there is a wind turbine development plan, which covers the entire municipality, but that's a single issue plan. So it's not a comprehensive plan. It doesn't meet the minimum planning standard requirements. Baddeck, however, does have comprehensive planning, but you can see that that's a very small portion of the municipality. So public engagement to date. So beginning in 2021, we had initial sort of formative engagement where we launched the project website, planvictoria.ca. That included an email list where people could sign up for updates. We had 5 initial open houses in November. Unfortunately, 2 of those needed to be moved to online due to extreme weather. There was a state of emergency and roads were washed out. So 2 of those did get moved online. We also hosted an interactive map on the website where people could comment about specific locations. We had stakeholder conversations. There were visioning workbooks available online for people who are new to planning that they could kind of establish what was important to them in the municipality. There was coordination between the Eastern Nova municipalities and CBRM, and also an online survey. The second round of engagement was in 2022, where we released the first draft. The project website was updated, including an email update to the email list. We had 4 open houses in Dingwall, Englishtown, Ingonish, and Iona. There were stakeholder conversations, again, the interactive draft zoning map and online feedback, as well as being advertised on the municipal website and social media pages. So yeah, this engagement that I'm summarizing is specific to what Upland did, but as well, the municipality was also advertising these things through their channels as well. In 2024, we released a second draft. So this was an additional phase of engagement that the municipality added because there was concern that there hadn't been enough engagement, that people were still confused about the project or were unaware of it. So this was added to our scope where we released a second draft. The project website was updated, including the email list. We added an open house in Cape North because we hadn't had any turnout. We had 1 open house and was only attended by a single person. So we did have one public session there, which was fairly well attended. We had stakeholder conversations in Ingonish with the Ingonish Development Society, and also in Iona with US Gypsum, Iona Port, and the Central Cape Breton Community Ventures Incorporated. The invitation also ended up going out to people in the area, so it ended up being sort of a semi-public meeting where members of the public also showed up. Again, we also received online feedback in this phase. We still had the interactive draft zoning map showing the updated zoning for that draft. And this phase of engagement also included a physical mailout. So we heard a lot of concern about online connectivity. So we felt that a physical mailout was one way to try to fairly reach to people within the municipalities so that they were at least aware of the project. That mailout included our direct email and phone contact that people could reach out to us. And we have had numerous conversations as a result of that. And so in summary of the engagement, we heard some recurring issues which have guided how we've prepared the documents. So environment is a key concern, as well as housing, services, amenities, and infrastructure, economic development, and demographic challenges, and also balancing the need for land use planning with community values, i.e. being used to having no planning and now having planning, and how to balance those two. So the new planning documents have been set up so the existing planning documents can be integrated into them. So specifically, the wind turbine development plan has already been integrated. So the same rules around wind turbines have been incorporated in the new plan. The planning documents have also been structured so that the Baddeck plan may be integrated at a later date. Currently, they're going to proceed as separate, but we've tried to write this in a way that you can roll it into one, so you have one plan for the entire area. And also, just it should be noted that to lay the groundwork to integrate the Baddeck plan, the new planning documents contain policies and regulations that may not seem relevant to the municipality's more rural areas. So for example, there are zones written in there which aren't applied anywhere in the area because they're specific for something like Baddeck where there are water and sewer. So in terms of community structure, our documents recognize that the municipality has rural areas, hamlets, and service centers, i.e. Baddeck, where there are water and sewer. And we're going to get into those in more detail as we go. Here's a draft zoning map of the entire municipality. Rural areas includes the vast majority of the municipality. These are natural areas, areas used for resource-based development, low-density residential and commercial uses, areas with agricultural potential. They typically have limited municipal infrastructure, and the zoning is intended to have flexible land use controls to enable a wide array of uses. The zones include the rural general zone, which is the default zone for the municipality, permitting a wide range of uses. The rural commercial zone, which has been applied to existing commercial uses or commercially assessed properties. It permits a wide range of rural and commercial uses. And also the rural industrial zone, applied to rural industrial uses, permitting a wide range of uses, as well as heavy industry permitted by development agreement. Also, there's the agricultural potential zone. So this is important to note. The province has included one of their statements of interest as related to agricultural land. So they specifically require municipalities to identify and protect areas with agricultural potential. And the tools that they've given us to do that are the Canada Land Inventory, which classifies different types of soil. Sorry, I forget the title of the document, but it classifies as soil across Canada. And so therefore, they require us to identify land as class 2, 3, and actively farmed class 4 soils. So that's what we've used as our base for establishing the agricultural potential zone. It's very similar to the rural general zone, but with a few uses that are not permitted, such as gas stations, for example, which have a higher potential for pollution. And also there are some limits on subdivision, specifically that on new private roads, only 15 lots can be permitted. So that's still fairly substantial, but it does place some cap on the number of lots that can be created on a new private road in the AP zone. Also hamlets. These are communities with no municipal servicing, or in Victoria County, there are several that have municipal water, but not sewer. They serve as local hubs. They have the potential for increased municipal services, and they typically have a greater diversity of residential and commercial options in rural areas. And so in our mapping, we are including Bay St. Lawrence and St. Margaret Village as one, Dingwall and Cape North as one, Neils Harbor and New Haven as one, also Ingonish, Englishtown, Big Brador, Little Narrows, and Iona, and we'll look at some maps of them shortly. And the zoning here permits a broad mix of uses. They include the hamlet residential zone for areas that have a fairly consistent residential character, like a subdivision, and also the hamlet core, which really supports a wide range of residential and commercial uses. So we'll quickly go through the map. So this would be Bay St. Lawrence and St. Margaret Village, Dingwall and Cape North, Neils Harbor and New Haven, Ingonish, Englishtown, Big Brador, Little Narrows, and Iona. We also have recognized that there are service centers such as Baddeck. There are places with municipal water and sewer services, and if there are areas immediately adjacent where those services can be used, they may include other types of infrastructure like sidewalks, and these are areas that can enable higher densities of development to take advantage of those services. So again, here are some of the zones that are written into the documents, but not specifically applied yet. The Main Street zone, the General Center zone, the Light Industrial Center zone, and the Residential Center zone. And we have applied that to some areas around Baddeck where the services extend outside of the village boundary and outside of the Baddeck plan area. So here we see a map of Baddeck. This is the Baddeck plan area, and we have applied that the serviced residential zone to some of these properties where they can be serviced. The environment is also a key concern. We've established a conservation zone, which protects provincially mapped resources like wetlands, beaches that are protected under the Beaches Act, floodplains, wilderness areas, etc. We've implemented a horizontal and vertical watercourse setback to all watercourses, including the Brador Lakes. Originally, the coastal elevation and the coastal protection was to be left to the Coastal Protection Act. However, that's been scrapped during the course of this project. So now we've applied a basic horizontal and vertical watercourse setback. We've established a clear framework for things like solar systems and electric vehicle charging. And as we mentioned already, the existing approach, the things that are in place now for wind turbine development have been incorporated into the new documents. Housing, we're trying to enable a wide number of housing types and styles throughout the municipality and enable higher residential densities in hamlets and service communities. We've also established a framework to use municipal infrastructure more efficiently and to ensure it's expanded responsibly. We've established source water protection zones that are coordinated with the existing municipal source water protection plans. We do have some standards for flag lot development. We don't regulate whether there are flag lots, just that the narrow section must be at least 6.1 meters wide, and that the area requirements of the lot are met within the larger portion of the lot, not the narrow skinny part. We've also established a parks and open space zone. And we're trying to respond to economic development and demographic challenges with flexible land use zones that enable a wide variety of uses. We've established the highway, commercial, and fishing zones. The commercial recreation zone promotes tourism and recreation related uses and establishes a framework for campgrounds. And related to tourism accommodations, they are permitted as a home-based business in mini zones up to 5 units, and also are permitted as a standalone use depending on the zone, how many units are permitted. So key changes from the last draft, just so people are aware, we've increased the as of right number of dwelling units to 4 for most zones, including the rural, general, and agricultural potential. We've relaxed restrictions on the number of accommodations, up to 4 units permitted in most zones. Refined the mapping and regulations for the source water protection zones in Baddeck and Ingonish. We've relaxed restrictions on flag lots. We mentioned that. We've removed restrictions on the habitation of vehicles based on what we've heard from the public. Nursing homes are now by site plan approval, except in the institutional zone. We've clarified rules around fences and agricultural structures. And we've updated zoning for individual properties based on commercial assessment, existing use, or established development plans. Hamlet boundaries have been adjusted in the Ingonish area. We've established that horizontal and vertical watercourse setback in lieu of the Coastal Protection Act. We've increased the number of new lots permitted on new private roads to 15. Increased the number of vehicles permitted for automotive repair as a home-based business to 6. Previously, it was less than that. Relaxed the floor area restrictions for daycares as a home-based business. Added recreation rentals, so example will be kayaks or bikes, to the list of permitted home-based businesses. And we've made some edits based on preliminary conversations with the province about what they would require, fairly minor wording changes such as referring to your existing public participation policy and specifically permitting manufactured dwellings. So in terms of the adoption process, so the council has given these documents first reading as an indication they're considering adopting them. That was on September 16th. Here we are at the public hearing. This was advertised in the Cape Breton Post on September 21st and 28th, advertised in the Victoria Reporter on September 25th, advertised on the municipal website on the 17th. The date did change due to a postponement. That was updated on October 8th. Also updated accordingly on municipal social media and on our Plan Victoria website with email updates going out to our mailing list. So following this public hearing would be second reading, where council can, if they desire substantive changes, can send the documents back for first reading. Obviously, that would be with the new council. And if it were to receive second reading, it would go to provincial review. The province may require typically minor edits, but they can require edits to the documents to make sure they meet their requirements. And also important, what happens when the new rules come into effect? Legally existing uses and structures will not need to come into compliance with the new planning rules. They are protected as non-conforming uses under the Municipal Government Act. New development will need to comply. So these are forward-facing documents. It would apply to new development. Taxation status does not change based on zoning. A planning advisory committee should be appointed. Although technically they're optional in the Municipal Government Act, they're strongly recommended. The documents are living and should change over time. So in addition to specific changes over time, for example, a rezoning or a text change, there are also reviews. And so the minimum time requirements for these reviews are written as policies in the planning strategy. So within 2 years, there needs to be a housekeeping review. Within 5 years, a full review for new or emerging issues. And within 10 years, the entire document needs to be comprehensively reviewed as a public process. And that ends my presentation.
Excellent. Before we start and get into everyone's comments and stuff, I just want to note two things. Warden Morrison was not available. He sends his regrets. He'd made some vacation plans about 1.5 years ago, and he's enjoying his vacation, so he does send his regrets. Also, I just wanted to acknowledge we do have our MLA, Keith Bain is in here somewhere. So there's Mr. Bain, and also his EAA, Diane Timmons, who I've gone to a number of times for assistance. I appreciate everything, Diane, but I just want to acknowledge that you guys are in the house also. With that, we're going to start any comments that people may have either in favor or against the bylaw. I'm going to call you up according to the list of registrations that we have, and you will have 2 minutes only to say if you're in favor or against and the reason why. So you'll have 2 minutes. So to start that, the first person we have is Alana Gale Perry. Alana, please come up, and if you just state your name again in case I've said it wrong or whatever, and where you're from would be greatly appreciated.
My name is Alana Gale Perry. My husband and I own an acreage and a home on Kempted Road in the rural general zone. First of all, I would like to thank council for having this today so that we'd have an opportunity to speak. As a general rule of thumb, I just wanted to say that there are sometimes important provisions in a land use bylaw document that can protect us. We're not completely against them, but there are many oppressive things here. So I just want to say, I'm just going to stick to my notes. It said that it's the intent of this plan to minimize regulatory burden and largely permit most types of eclectic land uses that can be presently found in these areas. There have been some changes since the last time, which I appreciate, don't have time to talk about. So it is important to express your concerns and to read these. One such example of why I'm opposed to a lot of the restrictions is my husband and I plan to develop our land into a couple of extra lots for our own personal use. You're not able to put any buildings on the other lots unless it's your residential lot. There's all kinds of these restrictions and bylaws that are absolutely oppressive. They do not benefit the municipality. They do not benefit us as Victoria County citizens. And I want you to keep in mind, I was told that there's a lot of pressure due to grants. You want to implement this. I want you to think council and not just the residents of Victoria County, how this is going to affect you, whether it's now or at another time. how it's going to severely limit you, your family, your friends, your neighbors. There are many things that I would like to address on a private thing. Some I've already addressed with Nathan, who is wonderful to deal with if you haven't dealt with Nathan, and also Fraser Patterson. I also wanted to mention I have quite extensive notes that I've taken on a lot of the concerns. Anybody who wants to contact me, because a lot of people are busy, we're going from virtually no regulations to 220 pages of documents. So how can that not place an undue burden on Victoria County citizens? So I just want to make you aware that all this is okay. My time is up, but I just want to make that known. Please come and see me. I will print these out. I have a PDF copy. Everybody needs to be made aware, and you need to have a voice, and we need to speak up, because there's some good things in here, but a lot of restrictive, oppressive things as well. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Alana. Next, we have Gary Crowder. Gary. Okay, perfect. Next, we have Lynn Hamilton.
Hi, my name is Lynn Hamilton. My husband and I would like to become citizens of Victoria County. We're currently under CBRM. I don't know if you can hear me. Sorry, I tend to speak low. Can you hear me better now? There are various concerns that I have. I haven't had a chance to go through the whole documentation. I'm currently not living in Victoria County. I am serviced under CBRM, but my husband and I would like to, our plan is to eventually move to Victoria County. And a lot of the reasons that we did want to move to Victoria County had to do with the flexibility that exists, and not, you know, just more of freedom, so to speak. Although we know regulations are necessary, but they really have to be a fine balance between not feeling as a citizen, not feeling that, you know, what you would like to do within reason, that you're so restricted that you really can't do what you want. Like your property, we own things, but do we really own it? You know, like it's, I just find the restrictions that are coming about are really very detailed, and I don't know if they have to be that detailed. This is the thing, we're going from, like, as Alana said, from, I don't want to say nothing, but very, very broad based to very, very limited. And this, I understand, you know, there's a goal in place, and this all has to be done fine and well. But this is the thing, whatever we go into, really, you want to be able, if you want to change it down the road, go more, you know, if you know you have to fine tune. I know 2 minutes is not very long here. I guess we should err on the side of allowing more flexibility, less restrictions. I mean, it is a living document. Things can be reviewed, but if you go in first being so limited, you don't go back, okay? It just keeps going more narrow. And I really would appreciate if everyone could have that frame of mind. As you know, there are many, I don't have the time to speak about it here. And I still haven't even informed myself enough about what I would like to do. Again, we can speak privately, I guess. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Lynn. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we have Daryl Hamilton. And
Yes, my name is Daryl Hamilton. Right at the moment, right now, we have our property for sale, and we are planning on building up in Camp Head. And my concern is, we just wanted a couple of doors put in our house. You try and get a carpenter. This yearly thing for, you have a year to build a house, that's crazy. 2 years since COVID, you need at least 2 years to line up a plumber, your landscape, if you have to cut the trees down, if you have to put a basement in, your sewer, your well, A year is not going to do it. And then it's ridiculous. You're not going to do it. I still didn't get a carpenter call. I didn't get a plumber's call. I didn't get any calls back from anybody. I'm leaving lots of messages. And another thing is, if like I'm retired, I like to have a little area for I can maybe raise my own little cat or a pig, a 10 by 10 area. That's only big enough to put your feet in it. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. And we're paying taxes. And really, we don't own our property or can't do anything with our property because the government's telling us what we can do and what we can do with our children, with everything else, and with our own properties. I mean, what are we paying taxes for? Our taxes pay for all you guys who are working here and everything. So, I mean, restrictions is one thing, but to build a home and that's a major thing in your life is your home, is your basics of everything. So I think at least 2 years at least to build a home and have everything come together. A year is not going to do it. And I'd love to live in, because we are moving and we are coming here. That's why we're here today. But I'd like to have them changed for sure. Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Daryl. Loretto. I can't see when that's up. That's. Oh, okay.
Yep. Got it. Yep, thanks. And the mic will be right almost in front of you. So I'm Loretta Doyle. I live in Wreck Cove. Can we ask questions at all at this event?
This is just a public hearing for you to give us your information, so.
Okay. To preface, I am in favor of land use planning, absolutely. I'm wondering if council and staff have reviewed this document. I was disturbed to discover, I believe on page 3 of the strategy, that we are in fact Inverness County. Yep. I'm disturbed by the complete absence of apparent simple reading of the document. So that does trouble me. Everything that's been said so far, I am in complete agreement with. I don't find the document addresses the mostly rural nature of Victoria County, and I don't find it very aspirational. I find that it chokes us down rather than helping us expand. And that's my biggest concern. I have one other issue. I don't know, you're not going to answer questions, but there is in the document a constraint, I suppose, of some sort. And I'd like to hear what you think the constraint amounts to, that if we want to make any changes, we have to involve the other adjoining municipalities. If it's just, what do you think? Are you in agreement? That's great. If they have to agree with everything we want to change, this fix it in the mix attitude is not going to work here. That this is a living document that we will fix all these messes in the future. It's not going to work if we have to have 3 other counties concur with every change we want to make. So that's my biggest concern. I don't know how you guys see that, but so that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Loretta. Next, we have Elmore McKinnon. Elmore. Good to see you.
Mr. Chairman, is there going to be a period for questions on interpretation of some of the material into the document? Rather than making a presentation on your views on it, is there, for interpretation reasons, what some things mean? Will there be a question period on that? We can question the authors.
Basically, this has been in process for a number of years, and we've had a number of opportunities to ask questions. Even in the last couple of days, we had to ask questions. So for today, we're more interested in hearing, are you against or for it, and the reason why. It's not, we've already gone through the process of going through what the document entails and questions and whatnot. At any time, you can go to your counselor and ask questions and have them bring the questions forward also. But at this time, we're just looking for people to, we want to know if you're in favor of it or against it, and why, I guess, is what we're looking for today. At this point, it's going to be hard. Again, this is a living document. If it gets approved or gets not approved, once it does get approved in the future or today, whenever, then there will be the amendments to it. So at that time, you'll have a chance to come forward and ask questions if you don't like something. These amendments can change at any time. That will be part of it.
detail and by line. Or second reading.
All counselors were presented, yeah, at the drafts, all counselors have gone over it. We've met with Nathan, and Nathan brought up all the concerns of all the residents that over all the meetings, and that's why we. Yeah, basically what we did, that's why we hired Nathan and his group to do that work for us. And then he brought back all the comments from everybody in the districts. And we met as a council and went over those amendments and at that time. And that's why there was a number of amendments made to it. If we do, yeah, you can have a second chance if we do have time. Okay, thank you, Elmer. Sarah McDonald. Thanks, Sarah. Judith Hart. Judy.
I understand and appreciate these. I believe requires more opportunity, discussion, and understanding of the document. It's a huge document. Oh, it looks pretty, but lack of understanding. People can't go on a document that has been difficult to understand. And at this time, I am not in favor of the passage of this until more discussion occurs. A couple of points that came up for me. One was the solar collector systems. That's 6.27.1 C III. In terms of the height of these systems, I believe from the ground, 2 meters is not that high. Perhaps with global warming, that might not be a concern in the wintertime. The issue of not being located in frontage or flankage yard is puzzling to me. And not to exceed 10% of the lot area. I kind of get that. So that's one area. The other question that I have relates to the development officer. What is the criteria and process of selecting a development officer and authorized agent of the development officer? That's listed under administration 3.2.1. In terms of the responsibility for and this person or people have responsibility for the administration of this land use bylaw. So that's a very powerful and ambiguous, but probably needed because of the way that the bylaws are written. Need more information about that to interpret the zone boundaries as well. That's under 2.5.1 F and 6.16.1.
And your 2 minutes is up. Thank you very much. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Thank you.
And your points have been noted. Richard Doucette. Didn't recognize you there.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for council, all the efforts you put into this in the last few years here, as well as the planning department. Certainly not opposed to zoning. I think in many ways it kind of brings us into 21st century, so to speak, and is helpful for our communities. I believe, though, the process for the review and development of the zoning bylaws that we have put together, from what I hear people saying and from my own experiences, I believe the consultation process with the public is a little bit flawed. And the comments that you hear, it seems that it's been pretty inadequate for people. I myself, property owner in Victoria County, received no notices that these meetings were taking place. I think the approach that I see in the document here for every single community seems like a cookie cutter approach that's being applied across all communities. And I think the communities are quite distinct. And I think that's being missed. I understand from the websites that I've seen that over the 4 or 5 years that you've been working on this, there's only been something like 200 or 300 people that have provide feedback. And of a population of 8,000 people in the county, 5 or 6 or 10 meetings, whoever you had, it's just indicative of the fact that there wasn't enough consultation given. I think that 2 minutes, of course, is very restrictive, and it really certainly doesn't give time to get into the details. But I would say a couple of things. One is I encourage council not to pass this today, to give the citizens of the community more time to get to know and understand this document. I think if you took a straw vote of hands here in the room who thinks it should and should not be passed, you'd probably find most felt it shouldn't be passed right now. Not that it's not a good idea and it's a good thing to do, but it just takes more time. Meaningful consultation is what's missing. Meaningful consultation in all these communities. Many of these communities, nobody showed up to get feedback from the people. I think the advertising and the notices of the meetings has failed to miss a lot of landowner property owners in the community. We get tax bills. Why can't we get notices of very serious things like this that impact everybody's property? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Richard. Next, we have Veronica. From there.
Thrown in hot water about the Coastal Protection Act. I think a minimum of 2.5 meter elevation and 15 meter should be questioned. 2.5 meter, I'm sure people in Florida right now, people in the Port of Bass would tell you that's not enough. There has to be way more done about coastal protection. I have made comments to the document. I'm not satisfied with the results that I've seen, particularly on those, and it talks about the infrastructure development. So if you want to build a house, that's your setback. What about the clearing? I do not think that anyone should touch the shore for meters and meters, including building new roads, because there's no restrictions on private roads and coastal setbacks. There really has to be an effort, because not only are our insurance rates going up, and I think we're all feeling the crunch, but then if the insurance doesn't cover them, who covers them? The taxpayers. And when you think of everything that goes into the ocean right now, we really have to be careful. Even silt. There's all kinds of construction everywhere, and you see all the silt in the Bredor Lakes and on the coast. So the Coastal Protection Act, and everyone is racing right now to build what they can because they're terrified of the Coastal Protection Act. It should be in. I don't think the municipality has the capacity to do it, but it has to do more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Good points. Matthew Hart.
Thanks, everyone. Your engagement summary in 2022, I believe Deputy Warden, your district of Ingonish said the community is experiencing a severe housing shortage. So obviously with the planning document, increase of housing is one of your primary focus. The province of Nova Scotia recently brought in some short-term regulations, short-term rental regulations, with the goal in mind to convert a percentage of those short-term rentals into long-term rentals. So according to the bylaw draft, the Hamlet Core and the Hamlet residential zones permit up to 4 units of accommodation. So accommodation in the bylaw means the provision of a building or buildings or part thereof to a single party or group traveling public for payment or compensation, and may include but not limited to tourist facilities such as hotels, motels, hostels, entire homes, individual rooms, cottage, coven, geodesic domes, and yurt rentals. So the province essentially gives you 2 qualifying factors. One is you have to pay a fee, and the second is get compliance from the municipality. If you're not able to do that, then you're approved. So if housing is a concern, I think the municipality needs to look at that new regulations from the province to determine whether or not it should be included in the bylaw to help with that housing issue. The other part I have a problem with is the Hamlet residential zone. So you're down in Baddeck Bay here, or in Ingonish, you purchase a residential zone, and then your neighbor comes in and purchases the adjoining residential unit, and he puts up 4 yurts. I mean, obviously anybody who would purchase a lot like that would have the same problem. The other issue I have is the home-based businesses of restricting it for the employees. So again, residential, Hamlet residential zone allows up to, I believe, 3 employees. So you have essentially 4 employees on a residential lot in a Hamlet zone. And yet if on the other zone, you have 4 yurts, and that's 4 individuals on that side as well. I just don't think that restriction for economic development is necessary as well. I do have more other issues, but I'm out of time. But
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Jason. Said Seldorf.
Is that good enough?
Perfect.
So I thank the council for doing the work that they've done. I don't think anybody here is really against rules or regulations per se in theory. It's been more of something that seems to be a problem from the process of how it's happened. And it would lead, I think, most people here to feel more comfortable, more trusting and accepting of what the council is doing if they felt and more part of the process. And I know it's been 4 years. It's been an interesting 4 years, so it's not a normal 4 years. And it's not, that doesn't equate to 4 years of everyday kind of nose to the grindstone kind of work on this one topic. You guys have been tasked with many things to go on with Victoria County. So I guess what I want to say is that as the document goes, it is a big change. It is a big increase of regulations, and all the implications of all these changes aren't immediately recognizable. And you guys as a council may know much more about how the document affects, or getting the document passed is affecting you as a council, but the people also have to live with it on the other end. And that is something that is important as well. So we understand you guys have a county to provide direction to and whatnot, but still at the end, the role of council, as far as I understand it, is not to rule the constituents of Victoria County, but to serve the constituents of Victoria County. So has your service been 100%? Has there been enough evidence of great concern for it? I think there's been enough, and it hasn't been done. So the request that I would make is that this gets, the second reading gets postponed not canceled, not killed necessarily, but postponed to the new government that's going to take on the service of carrying this burden into the future. So most of this council here, 5 of you are not coming back for sure, maybe 8, maybe the whole council changes. I have no idea. But this is significant, and to carry this burden forward is going to rest on other councillors here that are going to take your place. And I don't think it's fair on them, and I think it does a great disservice, almost you could say contempt for the constituents of Victoria County to do less than your best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Next, Jenny McPherson.
Just a request for cancel, an accessibility request. Can I have the, just because I have like a speaking thing?
Mhm.
So if I could have the clock down and if I could just have like an extra minute, I'll just say that I'm reading a 1-page letter and I have just like a comment after that's like 2 sentences long, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
Pretty much it. I got you.
So I sent this letter to you today, this morning. So it says, Dear Victoria County Council, I am writing to submit a petition signed by 84 residents of Victoria County within just over a week, urging the council to postpone the second reading of the proposed land use bylaw and municipality planning strategy until the newly elected council is seated following the election on October 19th. Our community has significant concerns regarding this 11th hour bylaw vote and the content of these essential documents. The decision to schedule the vote immediately after the public hearing, just 2 days prior to the October 19th election, raises serious questions about democratic integrity and fair representation. While we acknowledge that the current council has been working intermittently over the past few years to draft these documents, this sudden and rushed approach to passing such critical legislation is troubling. As your term is coming to an end, it is only appropriate to leave these foundational documents to the incoming council, who will be responsible for their implementation. Furthermore, while we understand that the county has been granted several extensions by the province for these documents, this does not diminish the seriousness of the situation. It also does not grant the council the authority to act in a manner inconsistent with what a reasonable person would expect from the democratic process. It is also important to note that Upland met with the councillor in April 2024 to make edits to the drafts. However, these revisions were not made available to the public until September 16th, the same day the public hearing and second vote were announced. The delays and extensions required to date have not been due to the actions or inactions of the communities you serve. We should not be penalized for circumstances beyond our control. Moreover, our community's concerns extend beyond the timing of the public hearing and second reading. 1, the province of Nova Scotia allows for delays in the planning process when there is ongoing communication and a legitimate need. Ensuring that community feedback is adequately incorporated should qualify as a valid reason for postponement. Additionally, the potential erosion of public trust stemming from an avoidable last-minute bylaw vote constitutes another compelling reason for delay. The council's current approach appears inconsistent with its prior positions. On September 16th, concerning the North Victoria Regional Library Steering Committee, the council refrained from signing the library proclamation stating, "The election is next month, so we don't want to make a commitment that would be unfair to a new council." This inconsistency is troubling. While the council was hesitant to make decisions regarding the library, it now seems to be hastily advancing significant land use bylaws with far-reaching consequences just before the election. In light of these concerns, we respectfully request that the council, 1, delay the second reading of these planning documents until after the election, allow the incoming council to review and potentially revise these documents to ensure they adequately reflect the community's needs and vision, Incorporate community feedback into the final documents, and maintain consistency in decision-making processes, particularly concerning decisions with long-term impacts on future councils and our community. By taking these steps, the council will reinforce its commitment to fair governance and public trust. Thank you for your time and consideration of this important matter. So I did a petition just a bit over a week ago, and I got 83 signatures, 84 including me. I did send that to you guys this morning. I'd like that to be added to this public hearing or to the next council meeting. And I would like to say that after hearing some of the comments here, it is concerning that some residents are worried about building a house in just, and they have to do it in little under a year. And they have a lot of these constraints, even though they're 80% of the taxes that are collected from the municipality. Whereas with stakeholders like developers, they have more wiggle room, I find, like even thinking of dwellings on their property.
We're gonna have to.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's all I need to say.
Appreciate it, Jenny. Thank
Yeah.
you. Kathy McPherson.
Okay, so basically, I'm sure you're all aware, you've all received my 50 pages of edits to these documents. Correct? Yes. So further to what my friend said in the back, the very first comment that I made on my pages of edits was that you're calling us Inverness. We're not Inverness, we're in Thornton. That's on municipal planning. On the land use bylaw, you do the same thing on page 95. So I really question how thoroughly this was and how ready we are to run it. As you know, my analysis, I did a meta-analysis of different municipalities across the province that are similar to us. And I looked at their best practices and suggested word for word what their best practices were. I didn't make things up. I didn't pull it out of the air. I used existing policies that were in place for my position. My suggestions were not meant to act as red tape for residents, which I've been hearing a lot, which is a misconception. I don't want that to stop. The suggestions that I made were for protection and safeguards for our communities, because we are going to have developers come in, as we already have, who are going to try to exploit our communities. If we're going to do planning documents, we need to ensure that we have safeguards in place for those communities, the elderly population, and people who are not as financially well off as others, because they're the people. Sorry. They're the people who suffer the most from changes like this that happen. So just for the record, some of my recommendations included local heritage, livable community, shoreline development, engagement with Indigenous communities, social equity, accessibility, public engagement strategies, sustainable economic development. I really don't know what is absurd about those suggestions. While I understand your need for a light touch approach here, we have to ensure that development aligns with the interests of residents, not just external developers, especially when 68% of the municipal revenue comes from residential property tax and resource property tax. 12% of the revenue that we run our municipality on comes from commercial. So when you're making these documents, please ensure that you're thinking about the people. Also, I've had this conversation time and time again. Our communities are ones that will engage when we are given proper notice and when we think that it's a genuine consultation. Holding those meetings the way that you did yesterday, announcing them on a holiday Monday, completely inappropriate, completely. It makes us think, and further to that actually, the fact that today's agenda says approval of the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw, when every other time you have done a motion or a second reading, it says motion for second reading. What are we to think? Why are any of us here right now? Does anything that we say matter? I am being respectful. Yes. Can you, okay.
Actually, we're out of time anyway. Basically.
Oh, just further
we
to
have
that,
the,
Councillor
council starts at
McDonald,
2
I
o'clock.
would like to say that I would like for you to appreciate the frustration that the residents would have, considering that we logged onto the agenda and saw approval, right? Thank you.
And we're going to go another 2 seconds here for the last person on the list was Jennifer McDonald. Jennifer, we'd like to give you the 2 minutes before we finalize.
I don't think I've ever gotten the last word before. Respectfully, I would ask that a councillor put a motion forward to either send this back to first reading or to postpone second reading until the next council is presiding. I appreciate the work that you've done over the last 3.5 years. I think the energy in the room is indicative that the process is problematic. I have some issues specifically with some of the outlines, especially around the coastal protection component, around the rural zones and around the hamlet zones that 2 minutes does not give me time to go into. But I think this council has done a significant amount of work over the last 3.5 years, and I don't think postponing the second reading of this bill will inhibit the municipality's capacity to comply with what the province expects in terms of municipal zoning and bylaws. So what I'm asking you today is to postpone the second reading or send it back to first. I think that that would allow for what everyone in the room is asking for: more consultation, clear consultation, and the opportunity to have engaged discussion with councillors, because I think folks deserve that. And that's all we're asking for, is for more discussion of the document. And I'll even give you 40 seconds left.
With that is the last speaker we have, and we're out of time. So, oh, just sorry, Gary. Yes, go ahead, Gary. I got a short memory.
They really would like to be strongly in support of zoning and land use bylaws once they are enacted. And they would like it to be done in a planful and meaningful way. Everyone would like to see this be completed. Certainly people here value the fact that we do have most of the land use and zoning bylaws in place, which is great. But they would like to see that extended to the rest of Victoria County, possibly after a delay, but a delay that is clearly identified. There has to be a sunset date to bring this to closure. And part of what's been asked is that the new council or the council today establish a specific date by which this will all be resolved. And the new council will be challenged with the task of having all the groups, gatherings, and whatever else you want to call them assembled, so that people feel they have to have a chance to provide input if necessary to build the roadway. And I share that on behalf of everyone that I've spoken to, and a number of people who have called to tell me exactly what they're doing. So, thank you.
Thanks very much, Gary. Appreciate it. With that, we're going to close the public hearing at this time, as council has to start ASAP. So I appreciate everybody coming today and providing us with your comments. They're greatly appreciated, and council will take them into the next step. Thank you very much. With that, I'm going to call council to Just to let everybody know, Nathan is available. If you have any questions, Nathan's welcome to answer them. If you have any questions on the bylaw. So for anyone that would like to ask more questions on the bylaw, Nathan is available. He's our consultant that put the program together. So Nathan is available. I'm going to be in the back room here. Right there. Just when you go out the door here to your right, there's the boardroom. If anyone has any questions and would like to do anything in detail, Nathan will be available. What? I need my gavel. Yeah.
Pass them out.
Yeah, sure. Those ones are mine.
Okay.
Those are signatures.
That this meeting is being held in Unama'ki, one of 7 traditional districts of the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. With that, I call the meeting to order. The first issue is the approval of the agenda. The agenda has been presented beforehand to all council members. Any additions or changes to the agenda at this time? What's that? So not hearing any additions or changes to the agenda, I ask for a motion to approve the.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Longba, seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion passed. The agenda has been approved. Must be Rob, is it? Yes. Thanks, Rob. So the first thing on the agenda today is the financial statements for 23-24 year end. And we have with us Rob Wadden from Grant Thornton, who's going to do the presentation for us. So we hand everything over to Rob at this time.
Yeah, it is. Old is new again. Any particular order you want me to go in? Yep. All right. Hear me now? No? Oh, I gotta. Oh, it's gonna be loud. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. You can do that. All right. No, thanks for having me. So we just handed around 3 sets of draft financial statements, one for the water utility, the non-consolidated municipality statements, as well as the consolidated municipality statements. So I'll go through the statements, just kind of highlighting some of the changes, kind of looking actuals to budget with the different sets of statements, and then we'll work through that. And if there's questions, by all means, we can have time. So the first set of statements I was going to go through is the water utility. So if we look at pages 1 and 2 is the draft auditor's report. So we do have a clean audit opinion that the statements do present fairly with the financial reporting standards for Nova Scotia water utilities. Page 3, so we'll look at page 4 first, is the statement of operations and deficit. So revenues were $205,000 over budget at 1.28 million. Operating expenses, there are different categories there: pumping, water treatment, transmission, administration, and depreciation. Pumping was down $14,000 under budget, water treatment $47,000 under budget, transmission $22,000 under budget, and administration $15,000 under budget. So at the end of the day, the operating expenses were $172,000 under budget, and the operating profit was $377,000 over budget, $412,000. So there was a sharp increase to the revenues as a result of the rate study and the implementation of the new rates this year. So you'll see that there is a surplus after debt charges of $384,000. That is reducing the deficit that the water utility has down to $402,000. So there still is a deficit there. And there is a large receivable right now, or a payable that the water utility has with the municipal general fund. So again, as there are surpluses there available, it'll be able to repay the amounts that were lended over from the general fund. And moving back just one page to page 3 is the operating fund balance sheet. So total assets increased up to 765,000, so a $400,000 increase. There is a large increase to the rate receivable as a result of increased charges, and then an amount as receivable from the capital fund. So there were some capital additions related to the meters and the Dingwall Tower. So that those monies were loaned over from the operating fund to the capital fund. That covers what I wanted to do with the water utility, but I'll pause if there are any other questions or comments.
With the water rate studies, our water rates went up considerably in the last 2 years. And with the deficit coming down the way it is, can you see in the future foreseeably with another water rate study that the rates might be able to come down?
So we've also extended our water line.
Yeah.
We're taking on large customers within a short space. That's up in Ingonish. We've also, though, lost Celtic for right now, which was a large customer as well. So we're kind of replacing a large customer with another large customer. But ideally, they will not go up, or they could go down. So it all depends on aging of. I'm not saying that they're going to go down, but by taking in a larger amount of a customer that will generate revenue. And we have one water utility for the 4 systems. Ideally, that's what you want to do. You want to take in large customers in small spaces. That helps overall. So ideally, but you got to get rid of the rest of the deficit. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Any more questions? Okay, so the next step we'll go through are the non-consolidated financial statements. So that would be the in the between set, the one that says unaudited advisory to readers. So these financial statements are not audited. We do audit work on them as part of the consolidated audit, but these statements are prepared by management. They don't follow a public sector accounting standard. So this is typically how all municipalities budget and run their operations. It's set out into the different funds and divisions of the municipality, but this statement itself is not audited. But we do audit the numbers as we pull them into the consolidation. So if we look at page 3, page 3 is for the general fund, the non-consolidated statement of operations. So page total budgeted revenues were at 15.8 million. They came in $343,000 over budget to 16.118 million. And we can move to page 7, and it gives you a little bit more detail on each one of these categories. So page 7 shows a breakdown of tax revenue. So tax revenue came in $46,000 under budget, and that's mainly tied to the commercial taxes were just down a little bit in terms of the total amounts billed by 34,000. If we look at page 8, grants in lieu of taxes was $30,000 over budget at 2.87 million. Services provided to other governments consistent with budget at 28,000. Other revenues from own source, so budgeted was just over $1 million. That came in $388,000 over budget at 1.4. So interest on investments was a significant amount there. So there was an additional $217,000 over budget that was earned from investment activities. Interest on taxes increased by 90,000 over budget to 209. And recycling and tipping fees were $75,000 over budget, up to $845,000. Page 9, transfers from other governments. That was $40,000 under budget, coming in at $606,000. So there was unbudgeted revenues that came in from a grant from CAO for $172,000. Miscellaneous provincial transfers were $50,000 over budget, and there was a decline in what was budgeted for the Canada Community Building Fund, $300,000 under where it was budgeted, but all those offsetting for the overall number to be consistent with budget. Maybe we'll keep flipping. Page 10 is going to start showing a detailed breakdown of the different expense categories. So general government services was budgeted at $4,442,000, and that came in $423,000 under budget at $3.6 million. Some of the bigger swings you'll see down in the bottom. Other government services, information technology was $30,000 under budget. Grants to organizations was $130,000 under budget, and other expenses was $110,000 under budget. So the biggest item in that category is the trail development projects, which is what make up most of that $557,000. Some of the other items, common services was $180,000 under budget. There was a reversal of some previous bad debts that have been set up on tax collections of $80,000, and that's bringing the total general government services, as I said, $423,000 under budget. Page 11, protective services was consistent with budgeted amounts, about $40,000 under where you had budgeted. Transportation services was $23,000 under budget. Most of that has to do with the sidewalks and other costs, which were $200,000 under budget. Environmental health services was $110,000 under budget, and that's all tied to savings in the administration category. Moving to page 12, economic development services, $110,000 under budget. Recreation and cultural services was $45,000 under budget, and a lot of that has to do with the administration line. There is $50,000 under budget. And lastly, page 13. So fiscal charges is consistent with budget. We then have our transfers to different agencies. That was consistent with budget, up about $25,000 over where you had budgeted. So that was just shy of $3.29 million. And then transfers from reserves. So that's your basically the surplus from your operations. So you had budgeted $167,000 needing to come in from the operating reserve to meet your break even. You were actually able to transfer $1.2 million over into the reserve this year. So a significant increase there. So if we move back to page 3, see how that kind of all shakes out. So as is the practice, the general fund is designed to be in a break-even position. So the total expenses are equal to the revenues that we saw up above. So again, $343,000 over budget to get the municipality into a break-even position. So on paper it shows as a break-even, but again, there was a $1.2 million transfer into your reserve fund from operations. Flipping back one page is the operating fund balance sheet. So cash in the accounts showed a significant increase by $4.7 million. Taxes receivable were up by $300,000, which is consistent with the rate increases. Other receivables are consistent, and due from water utility, that's up to $1.1 million. So again, that's the number that we saw in the previous set of statements. That's the amount that's owing back to the general fund for amounts that have been paid on behalf of the water utility. So total assets within the general fund up from $6.6 million to $12.2 million. Liabilities, due to operating fund, that's at 1.195. So that's the surplus that we saw transferred into the operating reserve. Due to capital reserve, so that shows a significant increase to 7.1 million. So there was a large grant received towards the end of the year for a specified project. So that sits in the capital reserve until you actually do that work. And trade accounts and other liabilities are about $130,000 under where they were in 2023. Other liabilities, the operating loan has been paid off, so there's no existing debt there. Prepayment of taxes, again, that's relatively consistent with last year at 500,000. And then tax sale surplus, so those are the funds that are set aside that have been collected for tax sales at 1.2 million. Any questions on the general fund before we move?
Thank you, Deputy Warden. On page 9, Rob, I can still call it the gas tax, the Canada Community Building Fund.
Yep.
Why such a variance in the budgeted amount and the actual amount? Yeah.
The accounting practice is to take that into revenue when it is spent. So we've allocated gas tax fund, which is the community building funds. We allocated 565,000 to be spent on trails this year. We didn't spend all that this year, so there was some timing and some things that didn't get done. So we can only take it into revenue to account for the expense. So we budgeted to spend 565 of the gas tax, but we only spent 265 of it. So that's what you take into revenue.
So that would have accumulated over the years.
Yep,
so,
that's
yeah.
sitting in the capital balance sheet.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll quickly scan some of the other statements. So page 5 is the general capital fund. So not a lot of variance this year. Total property equipment is up to 3.5 million. So there were some disposals of some older equipment and a side loader that was purchased, but not a whole lot of activity within that fund this year. If we look at page 14, is the capital reserve balance sheet. So there is cash, an increase to cash of 1.3 million up to 5.5, and then due from operating funds. So again, that's that large grant that was received towards the end of the year that hasn't been spent yet for the Ingonish wastewater, 7.1 million. So the total reserve has increased by about 7.4 million, but again, most of that is tied to that project. Page 15 is the non-consolidated operating reserve balance sheet. So cash increased by $1 million to 7.7, and due from operating funds. So again, that's that number that's been popping up. That's the transfer of the surplus of 1.2 million. So overall, the net operating reserve increased by 1.6 million up to 8.9.
It does, but we're on track to spend all of that and more. Yep.
Okay, probably the only other number that we tend to look a little bit, if you look at page 17, note 3 is just a breakdown of the taxes receivable. So we had 915,000 as an opening receivable coming into this year. The levy did increase up to 11.2 million, and as we mentioned earlier, there was interest on the accounts of 209. So the net receivable before collections was 12.4 million. You collected 11.2 million of that. So there was 1.1 million in a remaining balance. there's an allowance against that for bad debts of 260,000. So the net receivable is at 878,000, up 300,000 over the prior year. That kind of covers what I wanted to do with the non-consolidated, but I'll pause again if there are any other questions or comments before we move on to consolidated. Okay, great. Okay. So the last set does say at the front consolidated financial statement. So this is the.
Excuse me, Rob, I don't think we received that. The consolidated?
Probably a few more. No,
yeah, I don't have one either. Very much. We're good.
Okay, so this is the audited financial statements. This is where you will see our audit report of the work that we've done on the entire municipality. It takes into the all those statements that we saw on an individual basis, but also brings in Alderwood Rest Home and Highland Manor, as well as the municipality's share of Eastern District Planning Commission. So it brings all those in, kind of combines that all into one statement, so you see a full picture of what the status of the municipality is. So if we look at pages 2 and 3 are the auditor's report. So we do have, as in previous years, we do have a qualified opinion. So there is the Highland Manor, as I mentioned, is controlled and is part of the municipality. They do not prepare a budget for their year end, and they don't present their financial statements with public sector accounting standards. So as a result of that, we've always had to qualify the audit opinion as a result of not having them following the same set of standards that the rest of the entities do. So that's the only reason for the qualification. So the way the auditor's report reads, consistent with prior years, is other than that issue, the statements do present fairly with public sector accounting standards. So that's the one area that just makes us show that qualification.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do other nursing homes have budgets that are worked in?
Yes. Yeah. So Alderwoods, which would be part of your operations, they have a budget. They follow public sector standards as well. Our other municipal clients would be the same. Yeah.
I thought we had fixed that this year.
So page 4 is the consolidated statement of financial position. So cash and cash equivalents is up 6.8 million to 26.4 million. Taxes receivable, again, as we mentioned, is up 300,000 over last year. User charges receivable is up 222,000 to 442. Receivables from other government, that is down 336,000 to 370. So that was normally just a function of timing of grants. Other receivables are consistent. Restricted cash of 3.2 million, that's up 264,000. So that's related to Alderwood. They receive money annually on their budget for future capital expenses. So it's get restricted as it's they don't have kind of control over that until it's approved to be spent on capital projects. So overall financial assets increased by 7.2 million up to 31.6. Financial liabilities, payables and accruals are $685,000 under where they were in 2023. Deferred revenue is up by 7.1 million. And again, that's tied to that project that we referred to on the previous set of statements for the that hasn't taken place yet for the wastewater in Ingonish. Capital renewal fund, so that's the offset to that restricted cash for Alderwood. So that sits as a liability until that money will eventually be spent. That's at 3.1 million. Other liabilities are consistent at 1.3. Sick leave liability, so public sector standards require a calculation to be performed to meet the standards of public sector entities to determine an estimated liability for the sick leave balances. So that goes for employees of the municipality itself. Biggest component of that would be Alderwood. So the sick leave balances do get calculated to see what that liability would be. And long-term debt is $840,000 under where it was to 18.4. So overall, your financial liabilities did increase by 6 million, but again, more more than that number is related to just that the Ingonish project. But the net debt of the municipality improved by 1.2 million, down from 6.9 to 5.7. And then we have your tangible capital assets. So there was some significant additions in primarily in the water utility. Would have been the biggest increase there. So tangible capital assets at 30.5 million, and an accumulated surplus up from 21.7 million to 24.9. So a $3 million increase to your surplus. Page 5 is the consolidated statement of operations. So total revenues are at 28.9 million. They are $5.3 million over budget of 23.6. So again, one of the reasons why that shows a large increase is Highland Manor isn't included here. So you always bring in the revenues, but there's no offsetting budget number. So if you look at the Department of Health and Wellness, housing operations, that's $3.7 million over budget. So that's a large piece of that increase. But then the other items, interest revenue, $650,000 over budget. Other revenues, $365,000 over budget, and then government grants and capital contributions are $343,000 over budget. Then expenses were budgeted at 23.5. They came in at 25.8, so an increase to 2.3 million. But again, if you look at that housing operation line, that's skewing things significantly. So housing operations is $4.5 million over budget. But again, there's no budget number in there for the manor. General government services, $1.5 million under budget. Environmental health is $100,000 under budget. Economic development, $100,000 under budget. And water treatment and distribution, $172,000 under budget. So that's all bringing in those items we already discussed on the previous sets of statements. But overall, there was a budgeted surplus of $136,000, and that came in $3 million over budget to 3.1. So that's what gives you the surplus we saw on the previous page of 24.9 million. So I'll pause now if there's any questions on the consolidated.
Any questions? Not hearing any. So the statements have been presented, and what we're looking at this time is a motion to approve. There's two of them. So the first one would be just for the water utility. There's three. The first one's for the water utility. I'd like to have a motion to approve the budget or the audited statements as presented. Moved by Councillor Organ, seconded by?
Second.
Councillor McLeod, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is passed, so they are approved. Second is the consolidated financial statements for the municipality. I need a motion to approve. Moved by Councillor Longva, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? They have been approved. The third motion will be a motion for the consolidated financial statements. So looking for a motion for that one. Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion passed. So all three have been approved. Thanks very much, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No. That's usually during budget.
All the good stuff, yeah.
I know you can leave them.
So moving on, the next thing is the minutes from September 19th. That was a special council meeting minutes. They have been put out to everybody in the last couple of days. So we're looking for a motion to approve the minutes from September 19th. Moved by Councillor Longva, seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? The minutes from September 19 have been approved. Any business arising? Not hearing any. We'll move on to the CAO report. Leanne? Oh, was there a second set? Oh, sorry, there was two. That we also need approval of the September 16th minutes. That's right, there was two of them there. So they were presented already a couple of days ago, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the September 16th minutes.
I so moved.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor McLeod. It's been a long day. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion passed. So both minutes have now been passed. Moving on to the CAO report.
Great, thanks. So just a couple of things. So we contacted Keith Bain on the Bloomer and Highland Manor land, and both are moving forward. So thanks very much, Keith, for your quick response on that. So steps are in place for moving this forward. September 28th was the British Home Child's Day. We lit the courthouse up, and then we had the light switched. So that was in white. Then we had the light switched to orange for Truth and Reconciliation Day. So that was the courthouse looked really nice for that. The lawyer is in the process of subdividing the land in the North Shore for the fire department's washroom, and working on the Highland Manor adjoining lands which are owned by the province currently. Just a reminder for everyone, I had sent you a document probably about a month ago, wondering if anyone is interested in cost sharing on J-class roads. I need the roads to put in a template, send back to the province by October 31st. If you're doing anything, a reminder on that. Also sent out the information that we received from the village related to the capital study, wondering what you're looking to do for next steps on that. So you can talk about that now or later. So I was just saying I sent information on the village on the information that was requested on, so from some of the departments, so in finance, so for a tax update, we're currently behind last year by about $500,000, and we'll need to discuss and plan to ensure we stay on top of taxes. We're trying to stay on top of taxes. We know that it's tough. People are starting to feel crunch, I think, based on the last few years catching up to them, but we have a job to do, so we are trying to stay on top of those. We'll have to come up with a plan. 60-day letters have gone out for the next tax sale, which is by public auction, and that will be November 26th at the Inverary Inn. Our draft financial condition indicators were sent out to us. They're for 22-23, not for the 23-24 year yet. Our uncollected taxes, which was an issue and a priority of council in the past, where we had a red dot related to taxes. We are now, so the target to not have a red dot is 10%. We're at 5.7%. So that is a great thing. Also, we've had lots of interest lately for the septic lending program. A reminder that the max amount to borrow on that has changed from 10,000 to 15,000. So please check our website or call Alex for any information related to that. Over in Public Works related to waste management. So our construction and demolition hall tender has been posted both locally and on the procurement site. The tender closes today. Related to that, we are also in the process of getting a new F-450. Our last one has finally, I believe, breathed its last breath. And so we're limping by until the delivery of that at the end of the month, which we're highly looking forward to. In water, we are waiting on SCADA work to be completed by Link to continue with the second production well in Bucklaw. And our second quarter meter reads are underway, but people should have received, or actually our meter reads might be done. Should be receiving their water bills this week sometime. Our water tower in Ganesh was inspected and it needs to be coded due to areas that were compromised years ago. And there's going to be some costly work in relation to that. In our economic development department, so the Cape Breton Partnership Investor Summit is happening next week. It's scheduled for October 24th. And we are sponsoring based on council's decision, either the last council or the council before that. We are sponsoring the Amoeba Cruise, which happens on the 23rd. The Cape Breton Partnership is hosting an offshore wind green energy engagement October 29th from 2 to 4 at the Ingonish Fire Hall. In our tourism department. So Dan has hosted the advisory group for an in-person meeting in relation to the project that is going on related to the Cabot Trail 100. He hosted that here 2 days ago. He's also working towards meeting some STEP Ingonish recommendations and will be planning a public launch of the STEP report in late November. His department is arranging visits with new tourism operators and following up with their requests for information. Please contact Colleen to request a visit. If there's a new operator, that probably would allow for some more seasoned or experienced operators as well. If anyone would like to meet with our tourism department, I may get a text from them saying no, but I doubt it. I highly doubt it. In our recreation department. So we've encountered some issues in how the school board is booking the school gym. And we're worried we're going to see a reduction in programs available and more demand on our municipal recreation department to cover these additional costs. We have an example of one group that the bill has, that there is a bill and that it is quite costly to run one program for the year. And that's for the municipality to rent it. For outside groups going in, I believe that the price is higher. And we're not exactly sure right now where the money is going at the school board because the cleaners are already there. So it's quite a bit of an issue. So just keeping you aware. And Dan's replied, all good. If any tourism operators are interested in hearing from. We're also working on a schedule in the recreation department to build a multi-activity program.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
About the schools.
Yeah.
For example, the groups are using it in Baddeck in Academy.
Mm-hmm.
All the fees go to sports related to the school for the children. For example, we're talking about the volleyball nets. So the nets is $3,000, and the groups are coming, they're using the net. So it's equipment from school as well. So they have to sometimes repurchase, and it's not cheap. So I'm just gonna speak for that, right?
Yeah.
So okay. The fees for the sports, if they're using the gym, is going to the sports to the gym for the school and equipment.
So we're starting to have a lot of additional costs.
So I think if the groups, they're not from a school, they're using the gym, maybe they have to come up with a plan of membership or something from their own club, and then, which, I don't know, they will have to start talking about that.
So we might want to contact the schools in relation to that, of what we're supposed to do. Also, we're working on our final stages of our fall walking series, and there will be an ad in the Victoria Reporter this week in relation to where the walks are happening, and I believe it's also on our webpage and shared on Facebook. In our trails department, so Trails have been meeting with Nova Scotia Communities, Cultures and Heritage Trails Project Manager to share our trails development plans and see some of the recent work. And his ongoing work on Big Hill area trail upgrades, and this will be ongoing into December. In community development, we've been working in Baddeck with BABTA and a group interested in reviving and hosting a winter event known as the Silver Dart Ball, as well as some other winter activities for the area, so please stay tuned. In our HR department, we've posted 2 positions, Public Works Clerk and Community Development Coordinator, and these both close tomorrow, October 18th. A couple of other things. So we've been sent a letter from the village that they will no longer be plowing the sidewalks in the village. There was a staff report that was sent out to you as well. We've been sent that piece of information. Not sure if it's something you want to talk about or not, but we do have a staff report on it. our Jones Street extension. So there's a piece of land up in Jones Street. The owners of it have expressed their interest that it be given to the county to be taken over. We could develop an alternate exit up on Alexander Drive up at the top of the hill. I know that when Hammond's Plains was on fire last year, there was a lot of talk about 2 entrances and exits from streets. And this could be seen as an alternate exit. So anyway, we're talking with the developer in relation to that. So waiting for some next steps on it. I'm assuming council knows, but we also have to have an idea plan in place by the end of March 31st, which is inclusivity, diversity, equity, accessibility. So we have to update our accessibility plan and work on inclusivity, diversity, and equity. We'll keep council up to date on it, but we're looking to work with neighboring counties on doing a combined plan for that. So that is currently in works. We have been attending meetings to get going on developing our coastal protection action plan, because we do need a separate coastal action protection plan. And the land use bylaw talks about following the coastal action protection plan, because we do have to have a separate one. I'm going to meetings on that next week, and the province has assigned an employee to help municipalities with that and in developing a template and a bylaw. We have been hearing from other municipalities on the island also that there's been a lot of issues in collections of the marketing levy. Not only talking about the short-term rental ones that are just coming out, but just ones that have been lagging a bit on the marketing levy and getting that sent into us. It is in our bylaw. It is a requirement to send it in once it's collected by the tourism operators. So we're in the process of sending out reminder letters to all short-term rentals, including hotel accommodations, to remind them of their duty to send that in to us. First step is a reminder, and then we'll be looking at other options, including and up to summary offense tickets for those that have chosen or that have not sent it into us yet. Just a reminder for anyone who will still be here for our new council, starting swearing in is going to be October 30th, 2024, which is a Wednesday at 5 p.m. The swearing in ceremony will be here at the building. It's a public event for friends and family, and we're welcoming all prior councillors to come back as well. We're hoping to change it up a little bit from last year. We've had a group which mostly is Alex, but she's called in a few others, but they put a lot of work into some training and into setting council up with ways to be a councillor in a good go forward. So they've done a lot of work so far. So the first thing is Wednesday, October 30th at 5 p.m. for the swearing in. Next thing will be Tuesday, November 5th. It'll be from 9 or 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And that will be councillor training sessions happening here at the municipal building in Baddeck. And then we have also scheduled a 2-day session to be held November 14th and 15th. To do a facilitated session where we have hired we've hired a consultant to come in to do municipal council governance orientation and priorities retreat. We're going to be holding this at the Iona Heights Inn in Iona. And then following that, we will be having our first council session. So anyone that's interested, November 15th will be our first council session for our new councillors. And again, we're working on an orientation binder, contact sheets, all the things that were brought up. I think Jackie, you brought up some things related to some helpful tips. Yeah, so I'm sure if you want to go into the.
A couple of questions first. When again was the investor summit? That's October.
It's October 23rd.
23rd. Is it? I'm just thinking. I know it's an excellent way to meet the players, I guess, within Cape Breton and Nova Scotia, where we have new council coming in, it might be advantageous for them to start out by going to that summit if there's any vacancies still left in it. I'm just wondering if maybe we could make a couple of reservations for a couple and see who's interested. And I just hate to see them miss it for.
Yeah, we've booked, no, I thought we booked, I feel like we have booked tickets. It's just, it's hard with such a changeover.
Yeah.
I believe we have booked some tickets, and if not, then we can look into it for sure. It's just hard to know everyone's schedule at this point.
Exactly.
When we're in such limbo.
Yep. No, that's good. Yeah, I think I had another question, but I can't remember now. We're good. Question?
I was just wondering about the offshore wind meeting in Ingonish. Did you say October 29th? 2 to 4? And will that be advertised on the website? Again, it's not at this point though, is it? I looked there, I couldn't find it.
Yep, probably not. Yeah, probably not.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Leanne? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Just following Councilor McLeod's conversation about the school fees, I have some information that I've come across in the last couple of weeks. Apparently, what are they called now? They used to be the school board, the Cape Breton Regional Center for Education, I guess, have switched over to a new system. That new system sent a bill for $10,781 to a group of 10 line dancers. That's over $1,000 each they would have to pay. Mr. Wadden just told us we contribute almost $3 million to that center. We own the schools, they don't. So, but the good news is that was a mistake. It's only $5,700. So what a relief. Anyway, we have the other part, we have a small group of volunteers that host a Celtic Colors concert in Bulladree. We did it last Saturday. 10 to 15 people give up most of their holiday weekend for that event. They enjoy it. That's why they're there. We got a bill in the summer after I had applied under the old system, which was, we don't like paying it, but we will. I got a revised bill for $100 more than the original price. So the ironic part of this, we give most of the money we make back to the school. And as that's Councilor McLeod was saying, we give it back, not the school board or the Center for Education. We give it back. So I would suggest, since things are happening very fast now, that maybe the new council, and I think we've done this before, invited Susan Kelly to come and have a session with us, just explain what's going on. We never received the reply to that in the end that I know of, did we? So maybe the new council could kind of put that on their priority list, because there, you know, there's no school boards anymore. So who do you call? I've emailed Miss Kelly 3 times, haven't gotten a reply because they're accountable to nobody. So, I mean, this is the situation, and as Leanne described, our recreation programs maybe got it because we can't afford to pay that money. The county can't pay. We've already given them $3 million, remember? So, you know, maybe we could invite the new, or the new council could invite representatives from the Center for Education as early as possible. The new council is sworn in and so on. So I guess I'd like to make that a motion just to get on the books. Okay.
Councillor Patterson made a motion. Do you have a seconder for that motion?
Well, I just wanted to get it in the books. Yep. There, you make sure it's in there.
Exactly. Yeah. Seconded by Councillor Longva. All in favor? Not reminded. Motion passed.
I would say in the region, you're talking about the village, about the sidewalks. We received the report about what potential next steps. So we are going to talk about it because winter is coming and we can just leave the sidewalks
Okay, so, we have been giving the village $8,000 a year since, I believe, 1999. Earlier this year, the village requested an increase from the $8,000 to $24,000. Municipal staff requested a breakdown of the costs and the rationale for the increase because it was a the cost tripled. We've not received it. We did, however, receive a letter dated September 25th from the village manager and the commission chair. The letter announced the termination of the village public works contract to plow and salt the sidewalks. The decision was attributed to the limited capacity of the public works department to provide safe, efficient, and sustainable service given the state of the sidewalks and the insufficient $8,000 allocation for this service. So in response to this situation, municipal staff have researched practices from other municipalities with incorporated villages in Nova Scotia. So there's 8 other municipalities within Nova Scotia with 19 incorporated villages operating. And so we sent you the information related to how many have villages within them. So 7 of these municipalities indicated that the villages that have sidewalks, the maintenance, including plowing and salting, is funded through the village area tax rates and managed by the village itself. The municipality of the County of Chester indicated that they own and maintain the sidewalks within the village of Chester. So that there was one that does it for them, but the rest is through the village rate. So the villages, as you know, collect their own area tax rate to support their operational and capital requirements. And the rate structure should be set to support their ongoing operations and capital investments. So currently, I don't think we know where the village money goes. We haven't seen a detailed budget related to it. Again, we've asked for the information for why the tripling of our contribution. We know that the sidewalks can't go without being plowed. One potential solution would be for us to assume the responsibility for the sidewalk maintenance. This would require additional equipment and staffing, which we don't have. We could pass it on with a village area rate, billed by the municipality. That would go to the village residents. That's one way to look at it. Another would be to see if the village is interested in ask them, I guess, how much they need for continuing to do it.
But they asked me 24 for that, right?
Well, they were, but we don't know what that was for, and that was for last year. So I think we need to get a detailed breakdown of what the village of Baddeck services with the tax money that they get and where the money goes. We didn't know this one was coming, so we don't have it built into our budget. But if it's a decision of council also that of what we're supposed to do on this one. So.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
I'm just curious with why is it there's no breakdown submitted back to us if that was requested? That seems to be an ongoing issue throughout different things we've asked for. Well, what's the delay, I guess, is my asking. And why isn't there transparency of providing what we're asking? Is there anybody here that could answer to that, or? Yes.
Was an agreement made between the municipality and the village. Municipality would pay the village to plow south side of Main Street. That was it. What had happened since then is not something that I'm aware of. The ownership of sidewalk is absolutely not owned. Absolutely not. Maybe provincial, but not. Roads are owned by the province. Well, but Alexander Drive.
Okay.
Sorry, nobody can hear you.
You can, that's all good.
Well, not really, because they're asking for transparency, so everybody need to hear you.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
So you can hear and sit down.
The mics are for people online.
Yeah. People asking for transparency, so you need to just speak there for them. Thank you.
Problem.
Bye.
Yeah, it's on. As I stated before, the village agreement made back when the sidewalks were put in was an agreement between the village and municipality that the village would plow that new sidewalk on the southern side of the main street from what was Bethune's Corner to what was the old post office.
Okay.
And that was an agreement made. Since then, I'm not exactly sure how it evolved into the plowing of whatever sidewalks are here. But their plowing land, the village, in my opinion, as past chairman, in my opinion, the village are taking on a responsibility to maintain something that they don't own.
Okay.
So in today's world, one has to be concerned about liability, don't they? And for anyone who wants the sidewalks in the area, they're deplorable. And how could you take on the responsibility of plowing them when in fact plowing them is creating hazards that really, who wants to take responsibility for that? So I think it's incumbent upon the municipality and the village and the province to determine who owns them. I think it's the province. Who's going to maintain them? I don't think it would be under the mandate of the village because it's beyond the scope of what they should be doing. But I think it's just something that has to be addressed.
Okay.
Clear as mud?
Yeah. I'm trying to.
I think that's one of the things I've been hearing for a long time. Just one sec, Keith, is that there's been agreements years and years and years ago between the village and stuff, and I've never seen any writing in it. It seems like every day this comes up that there's been an agreement somewhere or not. Maybe it's time that we start from scratch. And because I was just approached by a resident in my area of why 15% of our gas tax fund automatically goes to the village of Baddeck. Why doesn't every district get 15%? If we did that, nobody would get anything because everything would be separated and stuff. But I think maybe it's time that we go back to the basics. Forget about all these old agreements. Maybe the new council come in, can look at it and start new agreements from that point. I guess when I start hearing things like this coming back, I'm wondering about the sustainability of the village. If something you were looking after, and I'm looking after the other 19 villages do look after sidewalks, and all of a sudden Baddeck is not looking after theirs. I'm wondering why did they take responsibility? So there must be something somewhere that says who's responsible for them. But maybe it's time we go back to forget about all these old agreements, make a motion to rescind all those old motions, because basically since I've come here, I've heard them over and over again, but I've never seen any writing or anything in detail on them. It seems like every time there's something wanted, there's an agreement was made years ago. So maybe I'm just making that a motion that we start at this point blank. There is no agreements, and start getting some good collaboration between the village and the council with the new council coming in. And I make that a motion.
I second.
Second by Councillor Patterson. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Just another comment too, Deputy Warden. The last speaker, I think, brought up an excellent point about insurance because, as we know, it could ruin the village, but it could also probably ruin the municipality or dig into where funds fairly substantially. So I think you're absolutely right. It has to go back. If the province owns them, well, guess what? They should be plowing them because we have an expert here to.
I'd like to make a comment.
Information, province of Nova Scotia does not build or maintain sidewalks.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Thanks for the good news. Okay, so that motion's passed. Yep. Jen, you have. What's that?
I'm Jen McDonald. For those of you who don't know, I'm also the chair of the Village Commission. So sorry, I missed that quick conversation, but it just happened at the exact time of school dismissal. So just in terms of scrapping agreements with the village, I think Two things. The question around why does some of the CCBF or the former gas tax fund get transferred to the village? Because it is a separate municipal unit. So for example, a place like Ingonish is not a municipal unit. Perhaps they might want to become one, or perhaps they might not. But that's why that gas tax transfer CCBF fund comes directly to the village. Just to clarify that. So that's,
I don't believe that's how it's set up.
it also works in St. Pete, happens the same way in St. Peter's. They've got a similar agreement with their municipality. So it's not something that's happening exclusively for Baddeck. St. Peter's is a good example. Bible Hill is a good example. Lots of other villages that exist within the province have similar agreements.
Right, it's
with
an agreement that's set up between the municipality and the village.
Right, but it's not exclusive
It's one
to
of those
Victoria
separate
County and
documents,
Baddeck.
Not at all.
It's something that happens. It's not something that is out of the ordinary or extraordinary about Baddeck
Correct, but
specifically.
it has nothing to do with the village being a municipality.
Well, we wouldn't be able to get a gas transfer tax or a CCBF tax if we were not a municipal unit.
But is it legal? Is it a legal thing that we have
You're
to?
wrong. You get it through us.
Right,
Yeah.
but you
Right.
wouldn't be granting it to someone an organization who wasn't a separate unit of some sort.
Actually, you can, because it can go to not-for-profits as well. They've opened it up. So yes, you can.
It seems like you're not for profits though. If your grants that I heard earlier in the meeting, you were $130,000 under budget to grants to other organizations. So I think, there's lots of conversations that need to happen around budget. But two things that came up for me when I was listening to your conversations about the audited statements. One, and again, this is probably a discussion for the next council, but the ask that Baddeck had for water and sewer infrastructure, given the large budgetary surpluses that the county had, I feel even more frustrated at the end of today's meeting that there wasn't a deeper conversation about that infrastructure development and allocating some of those funds towards that. So in terms of snow plowing, we're no longer interested in being the contracted service. If the county puts out a request for proposals like they did in the areas of Ingonish and for Little Narrows, the village may very well bid on that contract
So
to continue.
you missed the conversation that we had in relation to that.
Right.
We've done surveys around the province, and out of the 8 municipalities that have 19 incorporated villages, there is one that does the sidewalks within the villages, but everywhere else, they do the sidewalks in other areas, and the villages have a village tax rate that covers those things. So what we already discussed was we would like to see a detailed budget of what the village covers in their area rate, because we don't know what your area rate is covering now, and these things are coming back to us.
Sure, and part of that was the presentation that we gave around our strategic plan. So we identified the places in which we are spending our budgetary, our tax revenue and our area rate revenue. So the boardwalk, the wharf, the functioning of the wharf, are the properties that we own, the wastewater treatment facility, that's primarily where our tax dollars are being spent. In the future, that's a forward-facing document as well. So some of these things we need to move away from or move towards. But our strategic plan that I presented, I want to say in May, but I'm not 100% sure on that date, that I presented, that strategic plan highlights where the area rate will be directed based on the strategic direction of the village.
Thanks, Jen.
Yep.
So there's a motion on the floor and we haven't had approval for it yet. So all in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Anything else to come up with
Yeah,
that
so
time?
there was then the village, you received the information related to
Yes.
the village funding.
Mhm.
So you were requesting to get that information to see what next steps would be.
Yeah, no, and we basically we made a motion that $50,000 grant would be provided, plus we would loan the rest of the money. And my understanding is the village came back and said no to that proposal, that they wanted the 50,000 but not the loan. So that's not what the motion was, so we can't go with, so I guess I think I made that motion, does anybody remember? I think pretty sure it was me. I'll rescind that motion. So for that, I guess, I asked that to be rescinded, I guess we need a vote on that. I'm not interested in making one, I'm just asking for him to rescind my motion at that time. We have a seconder for that? Second by Councilor McNeil, all in favor? Contrary minded?
So the next step would be, because you asked for the information related to that.
Yep.
Are you interested in anything related to that proposal again?
I think it's best left to the new council. Because they're going to have to get together and discuss, like, I mean, this just can't go on every day, this back and forth. I mean, it's
We ask for, they send the report, how much they're going to cost, they study. Just a study, not capital, just study. So, but we didn't receive the how much everybody's reporting for that. For the report.
No,
No.
we did not.
So we asked for that. We asked who is involved in that project, or who is putting money for, right?
yeah, exactly.
So we need that information before we go forward.
No one provided that.
Well, they sent it to her. We just. The question is, for allocate the money, we asking for who is funding the project. You send us the study, the company. We asking to as well, if I can remember, how much each person, the village, how much is putting, the government, and why you need the money.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to give you that information right now?
No, I need it by paper and by everybody. I don't need, to have to go for, no, let's.
Provided, so.
Okay, you can provide it, but I need.
4 times, the last 4 times I've been here.
Can you provide it in, yeah, you can tell me, but can you send it?
$100,000.
Can you send it? Can you send it as well in a formal letter for the county? This is the only we asking.
Sure. I think
Okay,
probably
thanks.
at this point it's best for us to have this discussion.
Sure,
with
but-
the next, because this is gone in circles.
But that's why we made
The
the
letter
motion.
for
Yeah,
us,
so.
Like, what is the problem? Don't send me send the letter.
Send an email. So,
Send it to you.
and we provided some of that information in presentation on our presentation.
Yep, we did rescind the motion. Yeah.
And we rescinded it all motions, so we may as well, we're gonna start fresh.
Gonna start fresh. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it, is just everybody start fresh and work on it. Okay, so that's done. Anything else for Leanne or anything else? We're good? Nothing else? Okay, with that, we're going to take a 15-minute recess, and it is 3:11, so back in 15 minutes. Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order.
On behalf of my staff.
Okay, guys, calling the meeting back to order. The next thing on the agenda is district concerns. And for the district concerns, we're going to start with Councillor Longva. Make it good.
Yeah, well, for once, I don't have any district concerns. I just want to say again, like it's probably my last day in council ever as councillor, and it's been a delight and a privilege and an honor to represent District 4. And I just want to wish all the people that are running and the councillors that are in and the ones that get in all the best in the next 4 years, and I hope they can resolve all these big issues that we have. And it's great to see so many people here today, and it'd be nice to see this many people at all our council meetings. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Longva. Councillor McNeil.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Just one item I'd like to say. I did go on a tour of the roads with Steve McDonald. We had great discussion over everything while on that tour. Hopefully some issues will be resolved before the winter time, and I had advised the new council to have a meeting as soon as possible for winter works with Steve McDonald to make sure that the roads are kept up to par. Also, and again, this will be my last council meeting. I want to thank my fellow councillors throughout the years. I'll miss working with you all, and staff too. I think we had, like I said, the last meeting, I think we have the best municipal staff in Nova Scotia. And whatever issues came up, they would help us out. And I want to thank them all for that. And again, one person I didn't thank is my wife Stacy and my children, Samara and Dana, and new Kenley too. They had to put up with a lot the last 17 years, so I want to thank them. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, District 1, for supporting. Take care.
Well put. Well put. Thank you, Councillor McNeil. Councillor Organ.
Not too many district concerns for District 7. When I was around campaigning, I did hear a lot that they wish the polling stations would come back, especially for the seniors who are not tech savvy. So maybe that's something that the new council, which I hope I'm back here representing District 7 again, will look at. But if I'm
There is.
yes, but they want paper, not electronics. Yeah, they want to put their X and put it in the box per se. But if I'm not back at this table, I'd like to, thank you all again. It's been a great pleasure working with you all. Thank you, Paul, for all your tech savvy helping me out. And when Steph was behind me, I know she must cringed at some of the days when I turned around to her. But just thank you, thank you for everything.
Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I just received some very distressing news that the only person that's guaranteed a seat around this table after Saturday is Mr. Donovan behind me here.
He just left.
He just left.
He had another.
But I was also informed he's a Montreal Canadian fan.
Yeah, we didn't.
So Paul, I think, recruited him.
Forgot to ask that question.
Anyway, thanks to everybody for all the experiences and so on. Steve Sutherland said this morning that I said that I enjoyed every minute of it. I think I was misquoted. But anyway, I did enjoy 99% of the minutes. Deputy Warren, I forgot to mention this at the beginning to add to the agenda. But for the next at least 48 hours or so, I will still be a member of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Board of Directors. The deadline for registering is before our next council meeting. So it's in Ottawa and it's advocacy days. And what we do is visit MPs, most of them in their offices, to discuss the issues that we're concerned with at the municipal level. So it's a direct line right to the federal lawmakers. One of the things that we're working on is changing the way that municipalities get funding. And with the infrastructure deficits we all see every day, they go right across the country. We're looking for the federal government to step up and contribute more to the infrastructure of the country. So that being said, the advocacy days are held in Ottawa, as I said, in early December. So I would like to move that I be granted permission by council to attend.
Maybe we can make a motion that if there is a member on the new elected council that is a member of the FCM, they be permitted. That way it's not individually you, but it is you, but
Yeah.
no one else is going to be, but just open it up that it is for anyone that's a member will be permitted.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's a motion you're making, Fraser?
Yeah, that's
a motion. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Councillor Organ mentioned about the polling stations, and actually I was quite pleasantly surprised that when it was explained to people, the first reaction, if you said on the internet, well, you know, I don't know much about that or whatever, but then you mentioned on the phone, oh, well, I can do that. Any of you taking the opportunity to vote, it's painless. It takes like 30 seconds, if that, you know, it's just one of the fastest things I've ever done. And that's both ways, on the phone and on the website. What I've heard door to door are two things. The roads, of course, Keith, you know all about that. I always say call Keith Payne, you know, he's in charge of that. And the other conversations I've had, especially with waterfront properties, are the taxes. And I guess we were able to lower the tax rate this year, and some individuals' taxes did go down. I know mine went down a few dollars, but a few dollars is a few dollars in this era. So that's one of the things I think the new council could be mindful of, is probably finding ways to reduce people's tax load. And of course, the roads, as I said. I believe that's it for district concerns now. It is incredible the number of residences that are new. And you don't see them from the road because most of them have built on the water. And I've gone down one driveway, was 1.5 kilometers long. That's almost a mile to get to their property, but they want to be on the water. I don't know how they cope with the winter there, but anyway, you know, it's just interesting to get around and see the properties that we're representing. And I'd like to also give a shout out to Blair Gallup, our returning officer, who was excellent. Anytime I phoned, he either phoned you right back or he was available to talk to. Any problems or any issues you had, he got them solved almost immediately. So maybe, Leanne, you could pass that on to Blair and tell him he did a great job as far as I was concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any concerns. I think everybody's busy this time of year. Just I second Councillor Organ about the polling stations. As we go to another election in the next 4 years, our seniors, they're getting older and we are getting older. So I know they're doing by the phone or internet is technology, and we involved with that, but we have to, you know, remember we are getting older and people have difficult to vote or see. Just to remind everybody, they're asking us if we couldn't vote for them or help them. So I just want to make a reminder that we are not as a candidate, because that will be a fraud. So I explained that, and because they're asking for help. So we just say, just contact Blair, and Blair will make it happen if they can help them. Just thank you to all the council for 8 years. It's been a nice ride. Barb, we're going to miss you. If I get elected, the jokes make it so funny. So Paul, thank you. And Lord, my favorite counselor. And Larry, thank you for all your expertise and always got to the point. So I'm glad to learn from you. So as I say, I'm very, very thankful for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Deputy Warden. Just a few things. I actually have a street light request form. I haven't submitted one in 4 years, so I'd like to submit one for, it's a Cabot Trail civic address for 29174. And it's regarding around safety issues. I have the form filled out and I'll pass that to the Leah there after our council session.
So you make that a motion?
If I can make that a motion.
Do you have a motion on the floor? Do you have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded. Motion passed. Next.
Secondly, I'd just like to reflect the minutes. I also have a motion that I would like to, Cabot High School was a recipient of $2,516 from the Community Health Board Wellness Grant. They're in the process of trying to have a volleyball outdoor system, and it's a substantial cost to come up with funding for that. So I'd like to make a motion to take $1,000 from our District 8 budget in support of Cabot High School for their volleyball outdoor system, if I can make that a motion.
So a motion on the floor. Do you have a seconder for the motion?
Oh.
Nope. Seconded by Councillor Longva. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion passed.
And lastly, just to reflect the minutes, I'd like to take another $500 from my District 8 budget to the St. Paul Island Museum in Dingwall. And also $500 to the North Highland Nordic in Cape North. So they're two separate requests in my District 8. I realize they don't need a motion.
Don't need a motion, yeah.
And lastly, that's it for me. I said at my last council session, it was a privilege to represent District 8, and I can't stress how important it is for everybody in Victoria County to vote. Basically, the people decide who they want to be their representative, and it was truly a pleasure to work with everybody here on council. I wish the Village Commission great success going forward with the next council. I started this job honestly not knowing too much about Victoria County, but I've learned quite a bit since. So I'd just like to thank everybody for their time and good luck in the future. That's it for District 8, signing off.
Thanks very much. I don't have any motions to make today. I just want to say, I want to put out how much I really appreciated the support of council, but specifically the residents of District 6. I mean, it's been amazing support I had for the last 16 years. Looking forward to see what Tim does, and I hope everyone supports him as much as they supported me. But once again, for council, staff, you guys have been amazing. Especially when I look at our financial situation from when I started to where we're at now, it's black and white, and it's good to see we're making some progress and moving forward. So with that, I'd like to say thank you to everyone, and that's it for me. So the next thing we have on is motions. So the first thing is to decide if we are going to go to the second reading of the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw. So I guess what I'm looking for is just the thoughts of council, if we want to go to the second reading or do we want to postpone it? It's basically up to anyone. Based on when I look at it, I really don't see what it's going to change if we postpone it, but I understand a lot of people would like to see it postponed. The only thing I'm worried about is when I do talk to people in my district, I've talked to a couple that have bought land and they're concerned what's going to happen next door. Because right now there is no protection. If someone moves into next door and they want to put a pig farm or a junkyard or I'll use the example of one person had land on the coast that was bought and heard a rumor that there was a 10-story hotel going in, which would have blocked their view and they didn't want it next to them. I said, well, you have no choice. Whoever owns the land is going to do what they want to do. So by prolonging this, we don't have that protection. But I also understand what residents are saying. They'd like to see it postponed. So again, I'm leaving it up to council if what your wishes are. If you'd like to take it to second reading and vote, or at this time, would you like to postpone it? So I'm just looking for some input. Councillor Longva.
I just, there's obviously a strong outcry here today and the petition with 84 names on it. So there's a lot of people that feel, I know it's been, 3 and some close to 4 years, but there was COVID during that time. There was like meetings with little notice at that time. And I just think that it would be best not to push it forward before the next council because there's going to be at least 5 new councillors and maybe more. And I think it would be best to not decide on something and then hand it to them. I think it's better if we leave it to the next council to decide. That's, I think a lot of people have spoken, and I think, well, I've always been here to listen to what my constituents say. And I think they're speaking loudly now. So I think postponing it a bit, it doesn't say that we're not going to do it. I agree that it is something that we need to protect us too. But I think it needs to be looked at again before it's passed.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Long. Anybody else? Councillor McNeil.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Actually, when I came here today, honestly, I thought the best thing to do would put it forward today. But listening to everybody here today, and also because of other motions that were made today to delay issues within the municipality, I think I've changed my mind to have it delayed to the next council. So.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McNeil. Anybody else? Councillor Organ.
I have the same feelings as the other 2 councillors here. I was in the mind that, yes, we need this and we need to pass it now. I've listened to everything. I took in consideration of people in north of Smoky that come forward, and I'm willing to put it off to new council with the stipulation that it has to be done with before the deadline. It has to be dealt with. And can you tell me the deadline is January?
September.
December 31st. That would be my. I'll make that a motion if.
You want to make that a motion?
I'll make that a
Before
motion.
we do that, any other comments before we go further?
I just like to discuss that motion for a quick second.
Yep.
So if it took us 3.5 years to go over this document.
Yep.
How do we expect a new council in 1 month to solidify it and put it forward? That's just something I want to put on the table, right? So,
Yeah.
but I do agree with Councillor Organ in the fact that when the new council comes in, is it going to be another delay? There'll be 6 months, a year down the road. What is the province's stipulation? Because where are the other municipal units, where are they at with this? Are they in the process of wrapping this up? Are we one unit that's?
So there's 47 municipalities in the province. There's 8 that have not done it yet. We're one of the 8. I can go, the last I heard from the province was that the deadline, we're past the deadline. We have 3 extensions. We need, they've already done a preliminary review of it. They said if there are substantial changes, we need there needs to be substantial reasoning for doing it to grant it. We can go back and see if they will. We can ask, but if not, then I believe we have to have it done by December 31st. So got some work to do.
Deputy Warden, I'd like to second the motion. I think we should do that next.
Yeah.
No, we should second it. We should have the motion on the floor.
Oh.
So I'd second the motion.
So we have to question that right now. All here.
Well, no, we can discuss that.
Question.
No, we can discuss. Okay, Barry, go ahead.
Just as Councillor, I was ready to say yes. Not because the 84 people signed a petition, because the 84 people who signed the petition was from Ontario and states. So they are not living here, or if they're living here, they're not here. I'm changing my mind for the people that show up here right now, today and yesterday, and the people reached by email. So we need to understand you guys, they need to be more involved in your districts. Because if you don't do that, we just, for the few comments or the few emails that we receive, we make decisions that, the public have to make more engaged to us. You asking to be engaged. We try our time to engage. But if you don't want to be reached, how are you going to reach you? Okay. So, but as the deadline is December 31st, I don't know if we're going to be here. It's just make sure the province have a deadline, and if doesn't pass with the changes and inputs that you given, the province will just dictate what you want for our land. So just we have these choices. So we're talking right now, we postpone, but province have the last word after all. So yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Just with respect to Councilor McDonald's comments, and I appreciate those, but if you look in the audience, we have some future councilors here today. They were there yesterday. I think they're getting up to speed as we speak, kind of thing. You're going to find out it's a lot of reading, 133 pages, but that's only one document. There's a lot more than that. But anyway, I think the timing, and it's nobody's fault. I mean, you know, this meeting was supposed to be held a week ago and it was postponed. COVID interfered. There were logistical problems along the way. I have the feeling, and Councilor McNeil expressed it yesterday in Englishtown, like we did what we thought was necessary to communicate to the public, but maybe it wasn't, if you're telling us that. So we have to have conversations about the most effective way to get a message out. It's hard to get a message of 133 pages out. You know, you can't just take it and shrink it down to 2 paragraphs and say, that's it. A couple of the presenters today got into very fine details, 1 year, 2 years. I mean, but that could be a crucial thing. The height of the solar installations, you know, all of those things. And, you know, for that reason, it did take 3.5 years to get to this point. So what's another 2 months? You know, and that's kind of a firm deadline. Although the new council can decide they don't want to, you know, deal with it either, but that's their prerogative to do that. So I will support postponing it, as Councillor Organ said, until the December 31st deadline. Thank you, Deputy Warden. All right.
The next thing is the Inter-Municipal agreement, creating a Strait Municipal Technology Certification. I'm over to the end.
Yeah, so we do have a Strait Municipal Technology Services Association. We're just wanting to renew that. So our, I just need an approval of the Strait Municipal Technology Services Association. It's a group that services County of Antigonish, Town of Antigonish, County of Inverness, Town of Hawkesbury, and Municipality of the County of Victoria for our IT needs. And Josh is a member of that. Was here. So yes, I just need a motion that we can approve the Strait Municipal Services Inter-Municipal Agreement.
Does someone like to make that motion? Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor McDonald, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion passed, so it's been passed. And any correspondence that we haven't received?
No, all correspondence has been sent out to everyone.
Any committee reports at this time?
Yes. Just want to find my paper here. The Fences Arbitration Committee made a site visit on October 3rd of this year. And I must say Ken Oakes was very, very helpful. He is, I consider, an expert. He's the appointee from the Federation of Agriculture. He toured the fencing with the landowner, had some suggestions. He also even suggested that they increase the voltage in the electric fence. Now, the cows didn't vote for that. The cows are not pleased with that. But anyway, and we were satisfied that the farmer is making efforts to contain these cattle. So I do have a report Leah, I didn't forward you this yet. Okay, could I? No, I'll do that in a few minutes. Then. But anyway, hopefully that will solve the situation. Councilor McLeod, any updates on the situation in the Middle River?
Is going well.
Good, good. Thank you. So I just like I'll send that report to Leah and she can send it out to council. Thank you.
Just to put in the minutes, we have our AGM in Victoria County Transit, and we're, already did today, so just for the record.
Any questions from the public? Okay, we'll start with Ralph.
Yeah, this is the second council meeting I've been at where I heard delivery of a qualified financial audit on the same municipal asset. And I've not heard any discussion about how that's going to be fixed.
Which one's that?
The care home is not providing budgets.
Yeah, we actually had a conversation on that, and what it is, the bookkeeper from that banner, we've been meeting over that, once we get that put together. Apparently, there was miscommunication on it, so Mike's not on, so that is being looked after. That will, for the next one, I can guarantee that it will be in place. So, Jen.
Sorry, just a couple things. One, just to follow up, I have an intense level of frustration feeling like the village staff has been thrown under the bus with regards to not providing information. So I just wanted to read into the record. On October the 9th, this email was to the CAO from our village manager. Hi, Leanne, I sent you the documents yesterday and wanted to double check if you need any further information for council. Please let me know. Signed, Roman, village manager. The next day, your CAO responded and said, or sorry, the same day, October the 9th, she responded and said, hi, Roman, our council session has changed to October the 17th. So he was sending it to be sure it was on time for the originally scheduled meeting. But that was what we were requesting in relation to that topic. Many thanks. He again responded and said, thanks a lot for the quick response. If you need any further information, please let me know. Have a nice evening, Roman. So to be clear, the information that the county requested was sent by the village manager well in advance of the original meeting date. So if anything, and again, he said, if there's any more information you require, please let us know. So I want that on the record that that information was sent and that the CAO responded and said it was what you had requested. I think it's very important that we acknowledge that the village staff was not missing anything there. And the other points, just to pick up on what Councillor Patterson and Councillor McLeod said about communication. As a resident, now I'm taking my village commissioner hat off and putting my resident hat on. As a resident, I think it's important that councillors, especially the new councillors, recognize that your responsibility is to serve the community. And so it is your responsibility to seek information from your constituents, and the expectation that folks can, for example, show up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday to a council meeting, or that they can receive a significant amount of communications from a Facebook page. I think you need to have a serious look at how you communicate with your residents. And I think that's come up time and time again, whether it was with the local infrastructure bylaw that had a lot of controversy around it, whether it's this bylaw today, and folks who feel that there's a lot of last minute information sharing. I think it's important that the burden of responsibility sits not on residents to come to you and say what's going on. The burden of responsibility sits firmly on the shoulders of local councillors to ensure that they are going out and seeking that feedback from their residents. So I just wanted to have that piece. And on that note, thank you very much for your service to the residents of Victoria County. I fully understand how difficult it is sometimes to do your job. So I appreciate the time and the effort that you have put forward. And I hope you all have a very happy retirement to some of you, and best of luck. And I'm sure we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you, councillors, for postponing the plan, the document, and it's a burden you don't have to carry, the ones that are going out. This is going to be some problems, but we thank you with all sincerity for using common sense. Thank you. Thanks very much, Mr. Kerry.
Yeah.
I don't know, you want to record this meeting?
You're on live.
I'm on live. There you go. Still live too. Anyway, after hearing, pardon me, all the discussion that took place this afternoon concerning the bylaw and the discussion the council has made and the decision they've made, I just want to share a couple of things, if I might. The Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing wants to have all these in effect or approved by March 25th of 2025. Okay, and right now, as the CAO has mentioned, the timeline is December 31st, 2024. They might be still open to extending, but that's going to be the minister's decision and no one else's. If the minister says, they've had 4 chances already, we're not giving them another, he can do that. I'm just saying this just so everybody's aware. But I guess what I want to stress now is the people that are here right now, people that might be listening online, you've heard what the decision is. Now, part of the responsibility comes back on you to make sure the new council hears your concerns as well. That way you won't, your new council won't come in blindsided. They will be picking up and being educated as time goes on. So I think that's an important part because you want council to be fair to you. And I think you should be fair to the new council coming in too. So, Mr. Chair, that's it. Thanks.
Very much, Keith. MLA Bain. Sure. Yep.
You can actually time it literally. So thank you for hearing my last concern. I think the major issue, and we've had this discussion when we went to the meeting in the north in the springtime, and I've had this discussion with Nathan and other people. The major issue, and the reason why it wasn't just COVID and there were other mitigating circumstances, but the major issue why we're here today and people are very upset and feel uninformed is because it's not perhaps deliberate issues, transparency, but most people, most residents and landowners in Victoria County, they still are not aware. And the issue is that we don't know where to go from here to inform them that this document even exists. Nobody reads the Cape Breton Post, hardly anybody at all. So, and some people do read Facebook, but there has to be a means, and this is a challenge, and I'm putting this forth so that we can kind of come together to see what kind of opportunity. We can't go around and do 10,000 door knocks. It's impossible. But these documents, although there are some beneficial things, there are very restrictive things. And we're not asking for things to be even completely eliminated in most cases, but just modified a little bit so that it's good for everyone. So what I'm saying is we're still leaving with the same issue that we had before when we leave today. I am overwhelmed as a Victoria County property owner who has serious reservations and concerns, and anybody and everybody that I've spoken to personally in regards to the document, bringing up certain things, quoting exact words and quotations from the document, they have the same concerns, but I have no way to reach all those people. And we need to find a way. I don't know, and I know there's a cost associated with this, but really this should have been done at the beginning. As everybody is, other people have mentioned, it was made a priority that there's an actual residential mailing that's sent out for taxes. There has to be some kind of, this is the only way that I know, and I don't know if this will be seriously considered, but so that people aren't knocking on your door and say, I just found out about this. I can't read between the municipal planning strategy document and the land use draft bylaw document, essentially 220 pages. It's extensive, especially going from the looser restrictions that we have now to this. How do we get out and let people know to make them aware? so that they do have a voice. We're leaving with the same issue, and I'm wanting the people in this room who have serious concerns. Like I said, I have notes that refer directly to the document of my own concerns within my family and other people that I know personally in Victoria County from various areas and zones. And I'm just here practically representing one zone because most everyone is concerned with that one zone. But last year, I read from cover to cover and I made extensive notes. I brought my concerns to Nathan, but unfortunately, fortunately, there were some positive changes, but they were few. And I am grateful to Nathan because we do have a voice, and I do see that you are trying to fairly, people are coming here to attack you. We're coming here to say about this document. It might have been almost 4 years of this to you on your table, on your plate, but not for us. And I wouldn't have even known about it, but we bought the property a year and a half ago, and I decided to look into what do these regulations look like. And that's how it was brought to my attention. Otherwise, I still probably likely wouldn't have known. So sorry about going over the 30 seconds, but I felt that was so important to say because this is the primary issue that I feel, and I'm sure many of you probably feel the same way. That's at the heart of this whole matter. Going into a lot of restrictions and most people aren't aware. And we need to find a way to make them aware as soon as possible. And I will help in whatever way I can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just
I appreciate
make a comment on that, and I think new council is really going to have to find a way of getting it out there. But we did do a mail out to all homes, and I agree with Richard. It probably should have been sent out to everybody on the tax list because a number of people like Richard lives in Halifax most times. So, but they're going to really have to work with that. But again, a lot of times we send stuff out and nobody reads it. I mean, I went to the post office and they're all in the garbage when I get there. So it's hard to get that message out, and anything you guys can do to help us get it out. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go to Richard first. Loretta, Richard was ahead of you there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's true.
I understand. Yeah,
That's my.
yeah. Richard.
Yes, I certainly don't want to keep anybody here any longer. It's getting late in the day and we're all getting hungry. Just want to make one recommendation and one observation. One, just recommend to council that they strike a planning committee immediately and not wait until the zoning is in place. And secondly, that they reach out to the Eastern Planning District because I think a lot of the deficient communication resides with them as well. I believe if I'm not misremembering that meetings in Ganesh and Englishtown are still on the 17th on their website. And that's partly why I came down from Halifax today to attend those meetings this evening.
Okay.
So thank you. Thank you all for all your work.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it. Any other questions before we adjourn? Yep.
The reason why. Oh, my name is Daryl Hamilton. The reason we're selling our home to move up here because we're so tired. I built 3 or 4 homes in Cape Breton County. Terrible.
Okay.
They treat us unfair. That's why we're selling our homes for sale and we're moving here.
Okay.
Because it's like right now, I think the government got too much power over us, telling us what to do with our property, with our land. Yep. We're paying tax. We're taxed to death.
Yep. Agree.
And we're not asking for, silver and gold from the government stuff. We just want to do what we want with our land.
Yep. Right.
We're not going to build up high rises and all that stuff. And if it does, that's where you can come in and say, no, that's not a good place to put this building.
And that's exactly.
I just want I just want to be free, have our own freedom back. This is ridiculous. I mean, the politicians, sorry, but like I am a Tory. I was a liberal. But I think they got too much. He's a big liberal fan. I know. Yes. I understand. But I think the government got too much power over us. I mean, the minister is going to be gone. Someone else be in his place. So he's setting his standards to what he thinks. Well, never mind about him. What about us? We're paying the taxes. We're paying him. Yeah. Right. And that's all I have to say. I just think that we should you know, just be fair on everything. Not that we don't want everything, but I think fair is fair.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anything else, or are we finished for the day?
I'm Henry Fuller. I've been living here for 51 years. I came to Cape Breton when I was 22 years old and bought some property here because I thought it was the nicest place in the globe to live. And it's turned out to be that way, given the disrupted world we're living in today. We all have a responsibility here in Victoria County to do the best job we can in governing it. And I think this is going to be a new era with new councillors. We need new blood. We need to look forward, and we need to realize that as taxpayers, we have a responsibility to make sure that our wishes are carried out. One thing that sort of mystifies me, where I came from, if you had anything like this going on, there would be a town meeting. All the people would come to the town meeting. It would be discussed with the selectmen or the county people, and then it would be a referendum of the people and the taxpayers of our county to vote on this stuff, not 8 people representing 7,000 people. But I give you full confidence in what you've done. I thank you for what you've done, but we have a lot of work to do to make sure that we maintain the level of sort of what we say lifestyle here in Victoria County, that we all are friends, that we move ahead together as a group of people, regardless of our political allegiances. And we have a lot of challenges in the future, and I think that the new council coming in has a lot of challenges. One thing I also don't understand is the management and administration of the bylaws and the plan. Who's really going to do it? What's the cost going to be? We do not have a planning committee in this county. We should have had a planning committee in this county 10 years ago that worked with council, but we're off to a new start. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Henry. Anything else at this time? Move to adjourn. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a good evening.